Imagine this, a quiet evening, filled with the serene ambience of prayer, when the ordinary world seems to slip away. Sister Marta de Cruz, a devoted nun, experienced such a moment during one of her contemplative prayers. As she recited the rosary, she suddenly found herself in the presence of a vision so vivid, so sacred, it would forever change her understanding of faith. This wasn't just any ordinary experience. In the midst of her prayer, the atmosphere around her shifted, enveloping her in a peaceful yet awe-filled presence. Before her stood a figure glowing with celestial light, Pope John Paul I. He was dressed in radiant white, holding a rosary in one hand and an olive branch in the other. Unlike his earthly image, he appeared rejuvenated, serene, and imbued with a divine peace that transcended any earthly comparison. As Sister Marta stood frozen in awe, Pope John Paul I came closer, and together they began to pray. Their voices harmonized in devotion, as they sought God's protection for the Church, the unity of Christians, and the safeguarding of the Eucharist, something the Pope had deeply cherished during his life. This powerful prayer reinforced his belief in the importance of unity in the Church, especially during times of crisis. He revealed that only through this unity, marked by fervent prayer and unwavering devotion, could the Church withstand the forces that sought to divide and weaken it. The experience left Sister Marta profoundly transformed. The worries she carried before seemed to vanish, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose and strength. The vision was more than just a spiritual encounter. It was a mission, an invitation to live out this message of peace, unity, and faith. The olive branch that Pope John Paul I held was a sign of reconciliation, a call to embrace peace amidst division. This profound vision continues to resonate today, reminding us all of the power of unity and faith, the importance of protecting what is sacred, and the call to remain steadfast in prayer, especially in times of uncertainty. Let this message inspire us to remain faithful, prayerful, and open to the guidance that comes from such sacred encounters. In a powerful and moving moment, Pope John Paul I delivered a divine call for unity, healing, and renewal within the Church. Speaking with a compassionate gaze, he turned to Sister Marta, offering deep insights into the struggles the Church was facing. The Pope shared his concern over the current divisions and uncertainties that were threatening the faith, emphasizing that these challenges could only be overcome if believers refocused their prayers and efforts on safeguarding the sanctity of the Eucharist, the very heart of spiritual life for Catholics. The Eucharist, he stressed, is not just a sacrament but a precious link to the divine, and protecting its sanctity is crucial in these trying times. With his words, Pope John Paul I conveyed a sense of peace that seemed to transcend the ordinary. Sister Marta felt she was witnessing something extraordinary. This message was not just for her, but for all members of the Church. The Pope's urgent plea for prayer and unity was a rallying cry to the faithful, urging them to remain steadfast in their devotion to the Eucharist, especially in moments of spiritual adversity. Yet, the true depth of his message emerged when he revealed the profound reason behind his appearance. Pope John Paul I shared with Sister Marta an intimate and humbling experience from beyond death. Despite his holiness and revered status, even he had undergone a purification process before entering God's presence. Purgatory, he described, was not a place of punishment but one of mercy, a spiritual realm where souls are cleansed and made ready for their eternal union with God. It was filled with hope, the Pope explained, and was a necessary step for all souls seeking to reach the fullness of divine glory. This revelation illuminated the concept of spiritual purification, not only for individuals but for the entire Church. Just as each soul undergoes purification, the Church itself is in a process of transformation, enduring trials much like the Passion of Christ. These hardships are not signs of defeat, but rather the refining of the Church to emerge stronger, more united, and more prepared to fulfill its mission of spreading the gospel to the world. Pope John Paul I's message was clear. Purification is an essential part of spiritual growth for both individuals and the Church as a whole. In times of adversity, believers must cling to their faith with unwavering conviction. Just as Christ's passion was a path to salvation, the Church's current trials are preparing it for a future renewal. Through these tribulations, the Church is being refined and strengthened, gaining the resilience needed to continue its sacred work. The Pope also emphasized the need for Christians to remain committed to the core values of truth, charity, and justice, especially in an age where the world often deviates from these principles. This era, he noted, demands a renewed dedication to the teachings of Christ and a firm defense of the truth. He reminded Sister Marta that every believer has a critical role to play in living out these values, and through their prayers and actions, they can inspire others to do the same. In his words, Pope John Paul I illuminated the power of prayer, not just as a duty, but as a source of spiritual renewal and resilience. Among all the forms of prayer, he highlighted the rosary as a particularly powerful tool. The rosary, he said, can bring peace, protection, and unity, especially during times of trial. He urged the faithful to remain devoted to this prayer, for through it, they could find solace and strength in their faith, as well as the grace to face the challenges that lie ahead. This message from Pope John Paul I is not only a reminder of the Church's enduring mission, but also an invitation for each believer to actively participate in the purification and renewal of the Church. Through prayer, unity, and steadfast devotion to the Eucharist, we can weather any storm and emerge as instruments of peace, hope, and truth in a world desperately in need of healing. Pope John Paul I's powerful message continues to echo in the hearts of believers, urging them to turn to prayer, particularly the Rosary, as a means of connecting deeply with the divine and fortifying the Church. His call was not just for individuals, but for the global Christian community, emphasizing unity, spiritual resilience, and the preservation of sacred values in the face of a world increasingly adrift from faith. Sister Marta, deeply moved by the Pope's words, understood that these were not merely personal messages, but universal ones, intended to inspire and guide all who cherish the teachings of Christ. In a profound vision, Pope John Paul I emphasized the urgent need for unwavering prayer. He spoke of the Rosary as a sacred instrument that binds believers to God's grace, strengthening their faith and guiding them through life's trials. The Pope reminded Sister Marta, and all of us, that prayer is the most powerful weapon we have against the challenges of the world. It brings believers closer to God, restores their inner strength in times of doubt, and reinforces the foundation of faith within the Church. The Pope's exhortation went beyond individual prayer. It was a call to strengthen the Church as a whole. Through continuous prayer, especially for families and the preservation of Christian values, believers form a collective chain of faith that cannot be broken. This unity, grounded in prayer, has the transformative power to change lives and protect the Church from future challenges. Pope John Paul I's message was clear. In times of uncertainty and adversity, prayer is the shield that defends our faith, and through it, we renew our hope. His call for constant prayer was a reminder that each act of devotion, no matter how small, has the potential to bring peace to our hearts and hope to the world. The Pope encouraged everyone to devote themselves to daily prayer, to safeguard the legacy of Christian faith, and to lift up the Church, especially when it faces adversity. He assured believers that through persistent prayer, the flame of faith would remain burning, enabling each of us to face life's difficulties with courage and resilience. Pope John Paul I's final words were a message of hope and steadfastness. He urged all believers to stay committed to prayer, never allowing doubt or fear to extinguish their faith. By doing so, we not only strengthen our personal relationship with God, but also fortify the global Church. Prayer, he said, is the lifeline that connects us all, a divine thread that weaves us together in pursuit of truth, charity, and divine grace. As we reflect on these profound revelations, we are called to share this message with others, to join in collective prayer, and to support each other as a community of faith. By embracing the Pope's call to prayer, we become part of a greater mission, one that transcends time and place, connecting us all in the eternal pursuit of God's love and mercy. If this message resonates with you, consider spreading it further by liking and sharing. Your engagement helps amplify the hope and guidance that so many are seeking in these trying times. Stay tuned for more reflections and revelations, and thank you for being part of this journey of faith. Your presence makes this journey meaningful, and together, we will continue to find strength and inspiration in our shared stories of faith and devotion.